Producers happy, sound engineers happy, executive producers happy, whole team's happy. Hello and welcome to the Sias to Plessis show. A big shout out to everyone that has liked and subscribed on YouTube. We're also available on Spotify and iTunes. Also to our partners at Betway, proud partners of the 4-time world champions, the Springboks. A shout out to them. Check out betway.co.za for more. New Era also in the house, as well as Monster Energy. Now it is it's an honor, Stevie, and a privilege to have one of the best broadcasters, in my opinion, that South Africa's ever produced. He's a man of many talents. He's an incredible storyteller, and he's just a good human being. Rian van Heerden, thank you so much for coming in and sharing time. I know it's been hectic, but thanks for coming in, my man. It's great to see you again.
Thank you for inviting me, Sias. It's wonderful to see you.
We haven't seen each other, what was it, Titans?
Yeah.
A long time ago, I think.
And it's the weirdest thing. When I listen to you, I get taken back to the old days when we did a breakfast show together.
Absolutely.
Memories, huh?
I mean, we're not going to say how long ago it was, but it was a long time ago. But I have to thank you. And this is honestly, I was this wet behind the ears cricketer from KZN who's come to Tux because my cricket dream has basically ended and I needed to find something to study. And I walked into Tux FM, Rian, Fissy, Annelie, Simon. And I walked in, and immediately when the person called my name, I think it was Fissy, to come in, I thought, oh my goodness, I've made a huge mistake. What am I doing here? Because I have no clue. But I had some Dutch courage in me, so I was good to go. And then you guys asked me to describe an ashtray or something like that. And I suddenly realized I was way out of my depth. This was not for me. And then I remember someone saying I was quite boring, but that I should, maybe come back another time. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm just going to go back to drinking some beers and working out how on earth I'm going to get through university. Then the phone call arrived, can you do sport, from Fissy? And I was like, yeah, I like sport. I don't know if I can do sport, but you guys saw potential in me and gave me the opportunity on the breakfast show. You gave me the opportunity for a sports show. You made me eat habanero peppers that I almost died. But I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving me that shot, because I don't think if it was for Tux FM and for you, I don't think I would have had the career I've had in broadcasting.
Well, thank you for your kind words. I think as part of the story you probably don't know. So you obviously wanted to be a DJ at the time.
I thought it was there. Absolutely.
But during the conversation, there was a light that went on in my head, and because we were looking for a strong sports guy, and the way you presented yourself and your knowledge of sport said to me, as you walked out, we knew there's no way this guy will be a DJ on Tux FM. And I remember, I still saw you. You walked out, and you remember there was a little pathway. You walked to the gate, and you were on your way. And I said to Fissy, call him back, or we need to contact him because he's the sports guy. But I remember watching you walk away. It's like a movie. Watching you walk away, and I thought, no, this guy needs to be part of our organization. There's a skill set he has. I don't even think he knows that he has that skill set. And I mean, look at us today. Look at you today.
Point proven. You, man. Thank you so much. I've had a wonderful journey, and it started with you guys saying, let's get that sports guy in. So thank you.
Maar dit gaan oor skill. Like if you don't have the skill, if you don't have something, we could work with, then the plan wouldn't have worked. But sure. I mean, when you came on the breakfast show together with myself and Fissy and the three of us, the Three Musketeers, we did an excellent breakfast show. Everyone was talking about the three of us. Remember?
Yeah.
But I mean, sport wasn't my isn't my strong skill set, but you brought that element.
Yeah.
And then at Loftus, everything from there.
When you were telling the Wallabies, or who was it? New South Wales or whatever. That was fun times at Loftus, though.
So to people who don't know, we ended up, we had a contract at Loftus, and we had to bring people back to Loftus.
Yeah.
So it was you, me, and Gert.
That's right.
Gert would push the button on the, hey, baby.
Yeah.
Ooh, when someone scored.
Yeah.
And I would be like a little unsure about what was happening on the field, as new people arrived and others left. So you would advise me here from the left. So and so left, new guys arrived, because I would be focusing on talking shit on the microphone. Remember the three of us?
Though. It was fantastic. We had a good time, man. Jeez, those are great memories. And it shaped me. It absolutely shaped me, So, but I'll never forget the hottest chili competition and, stupidly eating the seeds and
habaneros.
Yeah. But so we did some crazy things. Do you miss radio at all? Or is there part of you that misses a little bit of it?
Every morning I get up, I say to myself, today we're going to do new things. Today we're going to move forward and create something that hasn't been there before. So I don't look back to the past, to things I've done before.
Yeah.
To me, radio was something I did for very long. I think there was at the end I felt, all right, I don't have the enthusiasm for it anymore.
Yeah.
There was something missing, and I realized it wasn't getting my full attention. Other projects were getting more of my attention. So it got to a point where I realized it was time to go. I made that call, and luckily, I think if I didn't quit, they would have fired me anyway. So it was, someone had to say it was
Didn't
like
they
a
fire
divorce.
you previously?
Yeah, it was like a divorce. Who's going to
You
say
get that, I get.
Who's going to say we need to get divorced first? So we were sitting at the Wimpy next to my restaurant, and the program manager at the time was leaning in that direction. Maybe it's time for something new, and I jumped in. I said, let's call it a day.
Yeah.
Let's move on with our lives. So I miss sometimes. I look at politics. I see what's happening on TV and our country, and I want to say something about it. But then I get distracted by other things I'm busy with.
Things that pay the bills.
Yeah. But let them do their thing for now.
Out of interest, what have you made of what's transpired in South Africa at the moment? Because everyone's talking about this wildebeest government or GNU, national unity, but it feels like there's a sense of positivity that's returned. And I think people have spoken and said, we're not going to take nonsense anymore. We're not going to take mediocre corruption. It feels like it's headed in the right direction for now.
It's a weird state of affairs. I wonder if that realization has set in. I think if it wasn't for Zuma, it would have been more of the same.
Yeah.
So let's think about that for a second. So Zuma, basically, there was just a shift.
Yeah.
So ANC supporters, a lot of them went to Zuma, who they previously supported.
Yeah.
And if you think about this guy's track record and still how many people support him, it's quite astonishing.
It is.
So what does that tell us about how our democracy has gotten to a point where are we mature enough to understand what it means to be a democracy? Probably not.
Yeah.
So they shifted there. Some of the DA supporters or the Freedom Front supporters shifted back to the DA, and so on and so forth. It's still the same people voting.
Yeah.
They just voted for other parties. So was it like, I'm going to hold you to account. I'm now going to vote for the most corrupt person that South Africa has ever seen. I will show you. How is that showing us?
No.
So no, unfortunately, I don't think we're mature enough as a democracy.
Okay.
I think it's been a lucky state of affairs that there's been a power shift. It's not necessarily shifted in the right direction. The DA keeps on claiming that they've grown. How have they grown? Getting the Freedom Front voters back. So there's not really been growth in the opposition. So I think where we're going with this, egos will be the problem moving forward.
Okay.
So egos will be the thing that will make this government of national unity work or not. And unfortunately, it's already an ego thing.
Yeah.
How many ministers are we going to get? Who's going to be deputy president? Like it's an ego thing.
Yeah.
And as I said many years ago, no one is there for the people. Who's there for the people? Like all of these little parties now join for one reason, because they're going to be a deputy minister or a minister for that matter.
Yeah.
So it's an issue. Jy weet, unfortunately, ons is nog baie ver of where we need to be as a mature democracy.
Yeah.
But also now understanding it's just been a few years. Has it been enough? We need to get to a point where there's two main parties, like the Americans.
Yeah.
Like to a great extent the British. But where we are now is I'm a bit concerned about this government of national unity and who will remain in a year from now.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting. I mean, I was reading an article in Daily Maverick saying the DA's bloodless coup, and that they're kind of sort of puffing out their chests at the moment.
Who tricked who here?
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is South Africa needs jobs, needs to get its crime under control, and electricity for the time being looks okay. But work needs to be done. So regardless of who's in what seat, guys need to get their sleeves rolled up and get stuck in because we need it. Otherwise, we are going to go backwards.
I think the main thing is to understand your responsibility as a citizen. What do you need to do to make this country work? So it's no longer a thing of waiting for the government to fix things. It's you. What are you going to do? So if you have the ability, you need to create jobs.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. And the government needs to make it easier for us to create jobs. But I've got a restaurant, and the main reason why I'm still in the restaurant business is not because of the profit. It's because of the fact that 24 people are employed. To me,
food on the table for their families.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To me, that is the more important thing. So I need to make sure that place works, so I can employ 24 people.
Yeah.
So that's our responsibility now, knowing that we need to, those of us that can, need to create jobs. It's not going to be the government that does it.
Yeah.
The infighting now will reach fever pitch in the next year or so to come. So understanding, stop waiting for the government to fix our problems and do it ourselves is one. It's one thing to say, but it's the other thing to understand. But the ball is in our hands as citizens.
Yeah.
Die concept, citizenry. What does that mean? Active citizenry. It's your responsibility.
Yeah. And I mean, it's small things from like, don't litter out your car, stop at a stop street, respect. Anyway, we could talk about this for hours, but I'm intrigued how the restaurant came about. Is that I've when I heard Rian's got a restaurant, I'm like, wow, that's a bit of a, what's the word today? Pivot that everyone's using. Has it been an interesting experience? I'm sure it's been a learning experience.
To me, it's all about challenges. I have to challenge myself.
You're not scared of a challenge?
Yes. If you don't challenge yourself, you will not grow. And I remember during COVID, we initiated a project on the radio show. And the idea was that we give free marketing to restaurants who are struggling at that point in time.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, yes, how can these guys, because they threw out these numbers. My turnover is 900,000 Rand per month, but now it's dropped to 600,000 Rand a month. And we can't cope. And I thought, how is that possible?
Yeah.
I'm sure you're telling me 600,000 Rand turnover, you can't make a profit. How is it possible? So that intrigued me. And when we got out of COVID, after everyone suffered so much, and when the restaurant industry was devastated, there was a restaurant around the corner from us. And funnily enough, during COVID, they also went into a bad place and came on the market. And all of these memories came back to me, and I said to myself, is it possible to, in post-COVID times, make a profit in the restaurant industry? Is it possible to still make sure that people are employed and people get an income? And I also said to myself, I want to find out if, when you sit in a restaurant, you think, yes, this steak and chips, how much effort can it take?
Yeah.
Why is it so expensive? And create something where you employ people but still make it affordable to the public. That was the trade-off. And that's why I went into it. I've never done it. I did a club at a time. And then I entered this business, and it was just a nightmare at the beginning. And I thought, all right, I've got to make a plan here.
Yeah.
I've got to figure out the recipe. Excuse the pun.
Okay, yeah.
And we tried all sorts of things, and we are now going for 3 years.
Jeez, congratulations.
Thank you. And all those people are still employed. They're so loyal, and you look at it and you go, it almost breaks your heart. You see in the morning someone arrives, and they get into that very hot kitchen.
Yeah.
And they work and they do their very best with every plate that they send out. And to me, that inspires me. So it was a challenge.
Yeah.
It remains a challenge. But once again, I will not let that place go unless I know that those people will be taken care of.
Yeah.
Because they deserve it.
Yeah. And they're family, I suppose, now, aren't
That's
they?
it.
Yeah.
So to me, it's people taking pride in, I'm a waiter, but I'm taking pride in it. That's what I do.
Yeah.
It's not a in-between job. I'm not when I'm studying to be a doctor, I'm a waiter.
Yeah.
I'm a waiter. That's what I do. From a cleaner to a cook to a chef to a manager, it's incredibly inspiring to me to see how much effort they put into and how much professionalism they put into their work. And that says a lot to me about how we can fix this country. Just take pride in what you do. Take responsibility for your little corner.
Absolutely.
And do it to the best of your ability.
And if you could recommend one dish from the restaurant, I mean, you have to have a favorite dish, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everyone who owns a restaurant has their dish. Sometimes it's the chef knows that it needs an extra caper or 3 or whatever it might be.
I would say our pork belly is fantastic.
Okay.
Every item there, I've removed everything that we can't do to perfection.
Okay. So you've physically been...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I was involved from the beginning with every recipe, everything on that menu that we kept. We made sure, and what I do is I'm a paying customer. I think that helps a lot.
Yeah.
So I drop in, I order like 5 or 6 things from the menu. I taste everything, take the rest away as takeaways, take it to my house. But when I find something that's not on standard, the difference between myself and another customer is I go into the kitchen.
Yeah.
And I say, guys, come on. It's not up to standard. You need to fix it, and you fix it now.
Yeah.
So as a paying customer, it's made all the difference. And then, of course, there's a pizza there. It's the only one I kept from the previous menu. It's the Heinz Jalapeno. Hein was the guy that was the previous owner. Fantastic pizza.
Okay.
Best pizza in town.
All right. Well, you know where to go now.
Yeah.
Get involved. I mean, as a man who wears many hats, the TV industry has obviously been a huge part of your career. I know radio has played a massive part. But every time I've seen you on the various programs that you've done, firstly, you own the space. Like, I think that's just this presence that you have naturally. Has it been an outlet for you, TV, in terms of the different roles that you've played in TV? Even though you've been Rian, it's been kind of different roles. I mean, the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire stuff, Lot Aunt, you name it. I mean, we'll get into the movies, and I know you've got some exciting news to share with us, but is that sort of an outlet? Is it a place to be? Was it always just been about who you are in that space at that time and the people you tend to interact with?
So you mentioned earlier on that I enjoy storytelling, and it's basically storytelling.
Yeah.
But you've got more time to tell the story than, for instance, on a radio show where it's, let me quickly tell you about so-and-so.
Yeah.
Now you can really get into their stories. And that's why I prefer reality television. I don't think I'll ever be able to do a drama.
Okay.
Because it's not real. But the realness of reality television, the fact that this stuff is happening, the fact that all we do is we fly us against the wall, we enter your life, and we tell your story. To me, that's where the gold lies.
Yeah.
So I've had the privilege over the years of meeting the most interesting people and then getting to a point where I could approach them and say, we need to do a show about you. One thing comes to mind immediately, and there's one show that I can't watch without getting emotional, because it's just, I never expected it. And that's the thing with reality television, is when you really get into the story, you find out how fascinating we are as South Africans, how really incredibly fascinating we are, and how many stories there are to tell. So the one particular one is about the flower market in Cape Town. Now, I met a character there, Delia Gamaldien, who sells flowers there. Now, initially, Delia, we used her on a radio show that I did at OFM in Bloemfontein. Delia would be almost like an agony aunt.
Okay.
And I loved how she didn't hold back. She called a spade a spade.
Yeah.
We'll pick up some money. So I thought, yes, we need to do a show about Delia. We need to find out more about what she does at the flower market. So here we are. We sold it to the channel. We went there with the idea of it's going to be this lighthearted thing, and Delia will be shouting at some neighbor of hers that she wasn't happy with, or a client, or whatever the case might be. I thought it was going to be funny. Yes, it was funny, but also it was a two-parter documentary called Blomdraers, Carriers of Flowers. Where does that come from? Old hundreds of years ago. That's they used to be called Blomdraers, people that sell the flowers, because the flowers used to come from the mountain. People would pick it there and then come back to Cape Town and sell it.
Yeah.
So I went into the history of this market, and it was a story of forced removals, and it was a story of gangsterism on the Cape Flats, and it turned out to be so incredible that there were moments when I thought, this is our people, this is our story, and we get to be part of it. And there was one particular old gentleman that shared his story of forced removals back in the day. He had a little flower farm, his family, where they grew flowers and they sold it in Cape Town. And they were forcibly removed from this piece of land, and he could return about 20 years ago. He went back. Jeez. And it went back to growing flowers and selling it. And he told me his story. And that was the very last time, like shortly afterwards, he passed away. That was the first and the last time that his story was told. And we got that on camera. It meant so much, to be part of that story and to meet Delia and, see how so much history is ignored. So storytelling. Yeah. That is just one small example of the stories I love to tell.
You also love your history. I mean, South African history is a passion of yours. Yeah. So, I mean, getting to tell these stories must be something that fulfills you, puts that fire in your belly to do the next project. And then you get to the Real Housewives of Pretoria, and that's a very different kettle of fish altogether.
Amen to that. That once again, that was a challenge. It's an international format. Yeah. And the challenge was, can we make a show about in Afrikaans? Remember, by that time it was done all across the world, but never in Afrikaans. In Afrikaans, you don't boast about your assets. You shy away from any conversation about money. But how do we get 6 women to tell their stories and for us to be part of their lives and then for them to interact? And it was all about finding the right characters, and they were very well defined, each one of them. But it took some convincing. It started with about 100. We spoke to about 100 women, and eventually got to these 6. So it was a long journey. But once again, it was what you saw there. Yeah. Was real. Yeah. That first night when they were sitting around the table and the nails came out, the beefs went back years. It wasn't a new thing. So I realized, holy shit, there's more to this than we thought. Like they have histories. And I think the thing with Real Housewives of Pretoria was the fact that it was very, very real. Like it's not, well, you're going to now tell her you don't like her handbag. They really
throw the water in her face and do that sort of thing. Yeah.
There were real beefs. Yeah. And poor Marie in the middle of all of this trying to keep the peace. And I loved how, and it took this twist, and we went to the island, to Madagascar, to Zanzibar, not the island, to Zanzibar. And we came back, and it was like this twist, and there was like real tears and real emotion. And It was fascinating to be part of it. I was privileged to be part of it.
As someone involved in the reality TV, have you now got to a point where, I think it's also something you find in broadcasting. Would you like another coffee at some point? You should.
I'm happy. Thanks.
You get to see the psychologies of people, their personalities, and almost interpret body language. I think is that something that you come across because you essentially studying human beings, even if it's on another level than just the medium that's on TV, right? The product. You're studying what's behind the scenes and what makes them tick and what gets them agitated or excited.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's part of the recipe for good TV.
Let's start at the beginning. The most important thing to remember is that when you do an interview or TV show or anything in that line, the subject, now it sounds like an experiment, the subject needs to forget about the microphone and the camera. The moment we get to that point, the realness become real.
Yeah.
So it's always the first thing. How comfortable are the people that you interviewing? How comfortable are the people that's with the camera that's there in the corner? So the moment they forget about it, you get to see the real person. But then also in saying that, you need to understand, it's a respect thing. So I need to respect you enough that at the moment I sit down with you or I do a show about you, I have read up so much about you. I've spoken to so many people that know you that to a large degree I understand you. Or at least I'm attempting to.
Yeah.
So if you don't attempt to understand me, it means it's disrespectful.
Yeah.
Then why are you making a show about me? You need to understand me.
Absolutely.
Where do I come from?
Yeah.
And then when the respect thing is there, then we can start our journey. I did this journey with Derek Hougaard recently.
I was going to ask you. He's got a tragic story.
Yeah. But it's a respect thing.
Yeah.
We need to understand. And from the very beginning, when I spoke to his parents as well, I said to them, why are we here? We don't want to profit from Derek Hougaard. And it's a very sad story to see how a lot of publications and a lot of people have been using him over the years, to sell brands or publications or whatever the case might be.
Would you go as far as to say exploit?
That's it.
Okay.
I would go as far as to say exploit. But to me, it's been, what can we do to fix him?
Yeah.
And at the beginning, I thought, let's, and obviously, I thought that if we do a show about it, we might be able to help other people that have similar problems. Because Derek, there's a lot of things that he struggled with and struggles with. So it started with respect and saying to him, I want to go on this journey with you. Well, the plan wasn't that we're on the journey on camera at the beginning, but let's go on this journey and find out why. Why are you struggling? Where is it coming from? Why so much interest in you? What's happening here? And then hopefully we get to a place of healing. But as with therapy, you can't do it in 4 months or 5 months. No. You probably need 4 years.
Yeah.
So it was a beginning, but I saw, how many people benefited from this. Fathers who've lost their kids, people who struggle with addiction, people who struggle with depression. All of these things, I could see how his story affected so many people. I said to him at the beginning, Derek, where we are now is maybe this is your calling, that you can help through your story as many people. But it's the point of what I'm trying to get to is respect. Respect the person. Respect the story. Respect the journey. Respect the people involved. It's a human being you're dealing with.
Absolutely.
So it didn't end the way I would have loved it to end. His journey continues.
Yeah.
But I personally think, and I'll say it here because I said it to Derek as well. I said to him one day, watch the series. He hasn't watched the series. Watch the series and then see your story through other people's eyes. and you will find healing. And that's actually my biggest wish. I wish he gets to a point, and I think he's scared to a certain degree to watch the entire thing.
Because it's so real.
Yeah, it's very real.
Yeah.
But it's something that I think also might bring some understanding one day for his children.
Yeah.
If they watch it and they go, okay, well, no, it makes sense to me what happened here. But he's a wonderful person. He's a decent human being, and I've got a lot of love for Derek.
Okay. No, I think it's a story that so many people want to find out more about, and I think it's because he was this rugby superstar, and South Africa has this is it a Schadenfreude? I don't know if it's that or if it's just this. Sometimes we like to see people fail for some sick reason, and I don't know why. Because we should be celebrating our South Africans, because a lot of people put some good things into good places and make a difference, regardless of what it is. Sport,
That was the weird thing for me. I had a conversation about someone years ago about the American consciousness and how the American public, having a consumer mentality, they're looking forward to the next thing. They almost applaud you when you come up with a new McDonald's hamburger. Like, wow, someone did it. And there's all this support. You see how crazy they go for their sport teams. And there's a lot of enthusiasm for people that bring something new, that people that try to do something new. And no matter what anyone tells you, yes, there's a lot of conservatism in America, but there's also this, with the support for new ideas. Just bring us something new. We want something new to buy, yes, but bring us something new. And yes, in South Africa, unfortunately, it's that the crabs in the bucket thing.
Yeah.
One gets out, the others pull him down. So it's, and I'm talking now, I can't talk on behalf of everyone in South Africa, but I can talk on behalf of Afrikaans people. And that's always been a thing for me. So it's like, he's got a new car. Yeah, must have stolen it, or must have cheated the tax man, or his father bought him that car. It's never, hey, good for you, buddy.
Yeah.
It's not, hey, man,
you've worked
wonderful.
hard. Absolutely.
You've got a beautiful wife.
Yeah.
Fantastic, good for you. Not, she's probably a slut. Like, it's, waar kom het vandaan? There's a whole show in there somewhere.
Yeah. Well, this skies dat ek lewe type attitude,
Maar you can't be better than me.
Yeah.
Jy kan nie beter as ek wees nie. I have to be better than you. You can't be better than me.
I don't understand.
To be. Yeah.
Well, like you said, it goes back to respect and goes back to celebrating our achievements, because there's no other place like this country.
Yeah, ek hoor jou. Jy weet, in this form, I would never leave. There's not even plans to look at.
Okay. So you're proud with that green mamba in your hand.
I read this article the other day, and someone said, "Ooh, Portugal. You can move to Portugal.
Golden visa."
Imagine moving to Portugal. Like, I'm so sorry to all your Portuguese listeners, but and viewers, but I can't imagine myself living in Portugal. It's like, we need to understand that decades ago, the Greeks that came to this country and the Portuguese people were always seen, like, as I was growing up, it was the Grieken, the Porras.
Yeah.
It was never like these South Africans, my fellow countrymen.
They're born here.
And they three generations they would be here, but they still the Grieken.
Yeah.
Very Grieken. And it's a thing that people need to understand. When you immigrate somewhere, you always be these Safas of whatever. You're not seen as part of those people because you immigrated there.
Even the UK, perfect example. We're the Safas.
Yeah.
Regardless of.
Jy's basies die Grieke. Yeah. That's who you are in Australia. So, my country. It's not your country.
Yet you had a Springbok game in Perth wearing the green and gold, singing Kosi Sikile. Anyway, Rian, the reality TV stuff fascinating. We don't actually have enough time to talk about the Mike Bolle stuff. I mean, Lot Aunts, you name it. But the movie space, creating movies, making movies, is something, has it fallen into, was it always a dream of yours? Is it something, you're a man who likes to challenge himself?
Yeah.
And it certainly is a challenge making a movie. As a writer, producer, director,
Yeah, ain't that the gospel?
mechanic, toilet fixer.
We had this, we had this, we were actually busy with a reality show about fixing small towns. Unfortunately, there was a sponsor on board and things didn't work out. So it was, I think, 4 episodes of this series was aired. But on the way to, I think it was a goat farm or something, where they made goat soap, or something like goat milk soap or some shit. So my right-hand guy, Carl, and myself, we were traveling to this farm, and lonely country road, trees, spooky shit.
Yeah.
And we were traveling, and I said to him, imagine there's this family that live in this isolated, on this isolated farm, and they ended up here because of 94. Fled van die swart gevaar and ended up on this place, all isolated, and no contact with people around, or the modern world. What would happen? So the story started there.
Okay.
And became this verskriklike, vieslike Afrikaanse slasher.
Nice.
Which we just wrapped yesterday.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you very much. But in making this thing, I was just, and this is the nice thing about, I was, as producer, I shouldn't have actually been on the set, but you get to a point where you watch the VT screens and you actually watch the movie. I'm like, wow, this is great.
That's cool.
Like, I'm really loving being here. So I ended up being there every day for 13 days for 12 hours a day. So this thing is launching, and obviously later on in the year if all goes well. But I think it's going to be the most talked about movie of the decade.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I have no doubt it's going to be a huge success.
The guy at the pharmacy said to me, "Is there going to be subtitles?" I said, "Don't worry, there'll be subtitles."
For die Grieke.
Ja, almal kan verstaan.
Now, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, and we can probably edit it out, Steve, if I contravene the legal binding agreement, but you star in it. No, it's not star, but you feature.
I can't say.
Okay, there we go. We'll have to see. But you have to wait and see when that one comes out. But has it been, because you mentioned the satisfaction and fulfillment and joy of having your 24 staff at the restaurant. Has it been a similar feeling seeing an idea that you and Carl sort of spoke about come to life? I mean, that must give you great satisfaction.
The director, Dion Potgieter, is a director that we've worked with for years on our reality shows. Complete the opposite to me. Hy's baie rustig ou. You know how I get. And we initially had this idea, and then I thought, okay, do we have time to write a script for this? But I had the story, so we approached the first script writer, and that didn't quite work out. And then Dion and myself on one of the sets, we started talking, and I said to him, all right, maybe you should write it. And he did a fantastic job. And then when it came to, and it was back and forth. Back and forth. Eventually we had the script. And I said to him, all right, it would make sense to me that you direct it because you have the story in your head.
You've got it there, absolutely.
And it took, and it sounds like the cliche, but it did take 5 years. 5 years. And I walked around with the script, and every time we would sell a reality concept or an idea to someone, I would, and we also have this.
Yeah.
You need to understand, Sias, I'm like an Arab trader, like a Bedouin trader. I come with my camels with the spices on it.
Yeah.
Would you like
Take
to
your
buy?
pick.
Well, we also have this. So you walk with the camels, from oasis to oasis. Yes. And then when they go, we don't want this. How about this?
Yeah.
We also have this. So I walked around with this script, and no one wanted it. Like investors-wise, some of them said, "Oh, it's a bit rough." I said, "Oh, yeah, yes, no, we can't do that." And then eventually we had the current guys that believed in the project and said, "Yes, we think we're onto something here." And it was so wonderful. It's always lovely that the person signs the check, comes to the set.
Yeah.
And you can see, you see them coming to the set and going, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Very. One of the guys actually said, you should have sold this hard enough, because this is, you didn't tell us it's going to be this impressive. And I loved hearing that. And I love the fact that these guys, and I can't say who it is now, but I love the fact that they believed in us, and they saw what I was saying, and they made a very good quick call on it, and they said, let's go for it.
That's great.
Let's make this movie. And it took 5 years, but eventually I got to the right guys, who could see what I was seeing.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Are there more movies in the pipeline? Or, I mean, you were telling me about going grayer.
Yeah. Now ask me in 2 months from now. No, pretty stadium. Like, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's one of the hardest things I've done in my life, I would say. I've done some difficult things, but making a movie, it's, and the realities of making a movie, the things that can go wrong on a set. And then you need to roll with the punches. And there was a time where I was about 1 in the morning, and I was in a bush, and there's some stench coming from somewhere, and it was the weird sounds and weird bush creatures, and it was cold. It was like 2 degrees or something. And I sat there and I thought, I'm going to go home now.
I'm done.
I'm going to go home. I'm over this shit.
Yeah.
Whatever happens next, not my problem.
Yeah.
Like, I'll handle it later. And I got up, and and in that moment I thought, no, you can do this. Come on, you can push through. We've come so far.
Yeah.
And I sat down again, and we got through it.
I suppose people don't realize, they just see the end product, don't they? They don't realize the hard work.
Especially in South Africa. And I think in America, you've got like a year to make a movie. Here, you've got like maybe 2 weeks if you're lucky, because of budget constraints.
Exactly.
And obviously availability of cast. That was another thing. We have some big names in this movie. So obviously these guys have got schedules.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure that we work around that. But in South Africa, I think it's 10 times tougher.
Yeah.
Every time I speak to someone from overseas and they look at our budgets, they go, "What? How much?"
Yeah.
It's they have no comprehension of how it's possible that we can do it. So the people in this industry, the work that they put in, the hours that they put in, to make a movie that's on an international standard.
Brilliant.
You will not know the difference between this horror movie and one that you find in the United States. You're going to look at it and go, it's the same standards.
That's
it's the same
great.
quality.
And that's what we're capable of. We punch well above our weight class, which is great. So hats off to you, man.
To the crew, to the people that worked on this movie.
Absolutely.
I'm just the guy that went with the camels.
Hey, you need to take the camels to the water to get the end product. But Stevie and I look forward to getting the invite to the premiere.
Ja.
I'm dying to see
Maar jy
this.
moet my onthou, asseblief. I'm old now.
No,
Just remind me, you'll get your invite.
I'm looking forward to that. Would you ever do a ghosts reality show? I'd love to do like a haunted thing where you go into these hospitals and...
Well, lekker. I did 2 series of a psychic from Kempton called Gerald Burger. So I did series 1 and 2, and he's a wonderful guy. By the way, he's the real deal.
Really?
If you want,
I need to get him on the show.
Yeah, you should. Okay. Like he's the real deal. Some people, I got to a point in my life where I understand that I understand nothing. Like if you're trying to figure out the universe or religion, like you'll never figure it out.
Yeah.
You maybe 1% of it. So some people I've met in my life, and I can't explain their talent. How is it possible?
Yeah.
That you can know these things, but he does. He has some form of skill that he can see things.
That's amazing.
So, anyway, so as last part of each episode, we went to a haunted place.
Oh, fantastic.
To see.
Where can I find this? I'd love to see it.
It should be on Showmax.
All right, I'll jump on that. Absolutely.
Die Siener.
I will be checking that out.
Yeah. So we went to a couple of places, and I must say, there was one particular farm where things happened that I couldn't explain.
Really?
Yeah. Like, daar was
Like,
I'll give you the story. So there are two people that, there's a couple that lives in this farmhouse, and they believe that there's some entity that hangs around this place, and that is a spirit that causes rifts. So it gets great pleasure in causing arguments and discord. And was very, they said and I thought, bullshit, come on.
Yeah.
It's just normal couple issues. But apparently she says to me, they realized there was something there. And not just between her and her husband, but also the mother and daughter, son and mum, and so on and so forth. They can't understand what's happened. They were a happy family and now not. So he goes to the house and he picks up you remember those middle age, or those in the old days, the Middle Ages, where they had remember the mask that looked like a bird.
Yeah.
Where they put the herbs in and what have you. So, against these doctors used to wear masks.
Exactly, yeah.
So
that like long pointy, yeah.
That's it. And before he came, Gerald, before he went to that farm, the woman drew one of these doctors, exactly with the same, with the beak and everything. She said, this is one, I saw something like this. This is what I saw one night. And when he arrived, he picked up this presence, this entity, and he said he described it exactly like the way she drew it.
Wow.
They had no contact before. And he said, this is what I'm seeing. This is what's here. And this entity is causing all the discord. But I thought it's bullshit until a massive argument inside the crew happened on the same night.
Oh, wow.
People who get along suddenly didn't. Now, how do you explain that?
No. It's this beaked doctor, whatever it is. That's crazy.
And we left the farm and it was all back to normal. But there was this, everyone was fucking in this argument.
That's
difficult to explain.
That's crazy. We're running out of time and I could speak to you for hours, Rian. You mentioned the word talent. What, in your opinion, makes a good broadcaster? Because we're in an age now where we're seeing influencers becoming personalities on TV and radio and that. But I'm of the opinion broadcasters are born and not made. But what's your opinion as someone who has a keen eye for talent and has worked with so many people over the years?
I think the first thing, and that's who I was looking for at the very beginning when I started training DJs, was the person on the edge. You can never be part of the crowd.
Yeah.
If you run with the crowd, you don't see what they're doing.
Yeah.
So you need to be on the edge. My grandmother told me many, many years ago, 30, 40 years ago, she said to me, why do you spend money on movies and videos and stuff, back in the day, videos? Just go sit on a park bench and watch people. She said, the value you will get is much, much higher. Buy yourself an ice cream or something and watch people. And that stuck with me. And I realized that if you are on the outside, you're looking in, if you observe, you sit at a restaurant and you just see what people do. If you're a keen observer, you can be a great broadcaster. If all you need then is, how do I convey what I saw? So we are surrounded by content daily, every day. Everything that happens in your life is content. The problem comes in, most broadcasters look at it and go, oh, that's not interesting. It is interesting.
Yeah.
Because it's your lived reality.
Yeah.
It's what happens to you. And that's, to go back to what I do most about broadcasting, is so many things happen. I would have loved to share it and go on a mic and say, yes, you won't believe what happened to me today. And I think the talent lies in understanding that you need to observe and being able to convey that to listeners without for 1 second thinking that, I'm talking to 1,000 or 10,000 people, and having that conversation with one person. Understanding that each person that listens to you should be seen as a one-on-one conversation.
Yeah.
So the conversation that we're having now
Yeah.
should be had with you, with your listeners as well. It's talking to one person
Yeah.
at all times. And ek dink dis die ding. Dis nie and storytelling, yes, it's all in the mix there.
Yeah.
Maar forgetting about trying to hide your realness, the fact that you have had pain in your life, that you've experienced things that most people also experience, and that we all go through these things. We lose people. We love people. We miss people. We interact with humans every single day. So if we can bring that realness, dropping the guard and saying, this is how I feel, then they will trust you and they will bond with you and they will follow you and they will tune in tomorrow again if they feel comfortable with you. That's the trick.
Rian van Heerden, what a privilege. Thank you so much for coming in and for sharing the story. I know there's many more chapters to come, but keep inspiring, keep making a difference, and keep finding those incredible stories that are out there.
Thanks for a wonderful chat, by the way.
It's been really good to have you in, and episode 60, can you believe it? So thank you so much.
Congrats with this, and this is really wonderful work that you're doing.
Thank you so much.
You make me proud. And I remember that day I phoned you and said, let's do another breakfast show. And unfortunately, that didn't work out.
Unfortunately, it would have been fun.
But I know one day, how things work out. We might have another run.
I would be honored. Absolutely.
Dankie, Sias.
Rian, thank you so much. Thank you very much for liking and subscribing. Take care out there. And a big shout out to our partners at Betway. Check out betway.co.za for more information. We'll see you again next time.